Cuando pretendo sentir temor, la furia invade mi cuerpo. Despertando en mi alma verde. El guerrero que lleva dentro.
In a stunning display of international solidarity, Colombian and Brazilian soldiers are now fighting side by side with Ukrainian forces in the brutal and unforgiving battles raging along the Kursk Front. These Latin American fighters, many of whom are veterans of jungle warfare and anti-narcotics operations, have brought with them a fierce combat spirit and unique tactical skills that are proving invaluable in Ukraine's war effort. The Kursk Front, one of the most volatile and heavily contested regions in the war between Ukraine and Russia, has recently become the focal point of intense ground combat. Ukrainian forces, reinforced by international volunteers, including the Colombians and Brazilians, are engaged in non-stop trench warfare, drone reconnaissance, and armored skirmishes with Russian units entrenched across a mine-riddled no-man's land. Inside the trenches, every hour is a struggle for survival. Gunfire rattles day and night, the sky is filled with the roar of jets, and the earth erupts regularly from rocket and mortar fire. Despite the hellish conditions, the South American fighters have not only endured, they have excelled. Their quick thinking, unconventional tactics, and fierce warrior mentality have turned them into respected brothers in arms. Ukrainian soldiers now look to them with admiration, recognizing the fire they bring to every mission, no matter the odds stacked against them. One Brazilian ex-Special Forces operative, going by the call sign Jaguar, has become something of a legend among Ukrainian troops. In a recent operation, he led a nighttime assault on a heavily fortified Russian machine gun nest, flanking the enemy with surgical precision. His assault allowed dozens of Ukrainian infantry to push forward without casualties. When asked in a brief interview why he risked his life so far from home, Jaguar replied, "We all share the same sky. If freedom is threatened anywhere, it's threatened everywhere." Similarly, Colombian fighters have brought with them decades of experience from combating guerrillas and narcotics cartels in the dense jungles of South America. Despite the vastly different climate and terrain, these men adapted swiftly to the frozen trenches and crumbled towns of eastern Ukraine. Their expertise in stealth, ambush tactics, and rapid assault operations has given the Ukrainian military a potent edge in some of the toughest close-quarters urban combat and woodland skirmishes along the front. What's driving these fighters to a distant land so different from their own? For many, it's a powerful sense of duty. Some say they could no longer watch innocent civilians being slaughtered by an invading army. Others, veterans of drug wars and internal conflict back home, saw a new kind of enemy, one that threatened the global balance of freedom and sovereignty. They came not for profit nor fame, but to fight against tyranny and to stand up for the values they believe are worth dying for. Ukrainian soldiers report that morale has surged with the arrival of these international allies. One commander, speaking under anonymity, said, "When we see them men who've left everything behind, even their families, to fight for us, we are reminded of why we fight. Their presence gives us courage. Their sacrifices honor our cause. Shared meals, laughter in makeshift shelters, and war stories from South America to Eastern Europe now bring unity in the midst of horror." The battlefield remains chaotic and unpredictable. Drones hover overhead like vultures, scanning the terrain for targets. Russian tanks rumble across the countryside only to be met by well-coordinated ambushes. Inside the trenches, snipers and mortar crews engage in deadly games of cat and mouse. The tempo is unrelenting. Yet, despite fatigue and fear, these multinational units continue to hold the line with unwavering resolve.
Casa 4, ô, tá errado, mano.
Commanders on the Kursk Front have noted that collaboration between Ukrainian forces and their Latin American allies has been seamless. Language barriers have been overcome with translated commands, hand signals, and battlefield intuition. Joint operations now include soldiers from Ukraine, Colombia, Brazil, and even other nations, all operating under shared tactics, strategies, and mutual trust born in blood and fire. In videos circulating across social media, Colombian and Brazilian fighters can be seen shouting Ukrainian battle cries, singing folk songs, and raising both their own national flags and the blue and yellow banner of Ukraine after successful mission. These images have ignited massive support in their home countries and serve as a visual testament to a growing international resistance against Russian aggression. The presence of South American fighters has also shifted the information war. Russian propaganda continues to portray the conflict as a NATO-driven conspiracy. However, the increasing number of volunteers from regions far outside the NATO sphere, including Latin America, Asia, and Africa, is undermining that narrative. It proves this war is not just a regional battle, but a global moral confrontation. Though the outcome of the war remains uncertain, the impact of these brave Colombian and Brazilian fighters is already being felt, not just in strategic victories on the battlefield, but in the morale, hope, and unity they inspired. They have become living symbols of international defiance, proof that borders cannot contain the fight for liberty. As the Kursk Front continues to burn with the fires of war, and as Russian forces intensify their assaults, the world watches in awe at the determination of those who've chosen to fight for a foreign flag, driven not by allegiance, but by ideals. These fighters may come from distant continents, but they bleed, fight, and sacrifice as brothers with Ukraine's defenders. In this crucible of violence and resistance, the names of Latin American volunteers will be remembered not just as foreign soldiers, but as heroes who stood for something far greater than themselves. Their legacy will echo long after the smoke clears and the silence of peace return.
Porra, eu tô atirando. Ah, porra!